There are moments when life as you know it completely falls apart. Divorce, loss, failure, heartbreak, financial collapse. It's 2 a.m., you can't sleep, and everything feels like it's over. But here's the truth. This is not the end. I'm Christy Zlatkus, and this is a show where we talk about the strategies that turn heartbreak, loss, and failure into success, and share the real stories of people who've done it. Because no matter how dark it feels right now, your story isn't over. This space, this is not the end, is for anyone who is sitting in that space between endings and beginnings. And I cannot wait to share this space with you. We're going to talk about real strategies that helped real people rebuild. We're going to figure out what their theme songs were that helped with their comeback and what mantras really worked for them. I'm going to share some of my own lessons too, the tools and the truths that got me here. If you're in that 2 a.m. moment, the one where everything feels lost, I want you to know that you are not alone. This isn't where your story ends. It's just the place where it starts to change. There are moments in life when life as you know it just completely falls apart. It might be a relationship ending, a business failure, a personal failure. Whatever it is keeping you up at 2 a.m. and you can't sleep and everything just feels over. But here's the truth. This is not the end. I'm Christy Zlatkus. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a divorce attorney, and I'm an unapologetic new beginnings enthusiast. And this is the very first episode of This Is Not the End. This show is about real stories and practical strategies for getting through some of life's hardest seasons and finding the courage to rebuild when everything feels like it's in pieces. I know that during some of the hardest times in my life, I would spend half the night scrolling, looking for stories of inspiration. Somebody who got over their breakup or their divorce, or somebody who made it past a bigger business failure than mine. And I love finding evidence out there in the world of people failing their way forward one step at a time. And then I love looking at stories of amazing success and kind of rewinding the picture to see it wasn't all rosy. And that sometimes in the darkest moments, you can learn those lessons that can help all of us rise. Now, some episodes are going to feature incredible guests who have turned their own heartbreak, losses, or failures into success and powerful new beginnings. And others, like today's episode, are more personal. Today, I'm going to talk about the story about how my own world fell apart, what I learned from it, and why I wanted to create this space for anyone sitting in their own season of change. For me, it started with a breakup. I didn't see it coming. I wasn't married, there wasn't a divorce decree or lawyers involved, which is kind of funny since I am a divorce attorney myself, but emotionally, it might as well have been. It was one of those endings that I didn't choose, but I was forced to live through. I wish I could say I picked myself up, dusted myself off, and went on the next day, but the truth is, this one really broke me. I couldn't get off my floor for a really long time, and I literally mean my floor. I couldn't sleep in our bed, so I slept on the floor for 2 solid months. I went through the motions as friends and colleagues propped me up. I had no idea what was next because I had built my whole world around the plans of us. And I didn't even know who I was anymore. I questioned everything, looking for closure and trying to figure out what I did wrong and having no idea what was in front of me. It's a strange thing when the person you thought you were building a life with suddenly becomes a stranger. But there was a different moment, and I'm going to explore that one in a different episode. But there was a different moment, and it was a little over 2 months later when I realized that that ending didn't have to be an ending. It could be a pivot. An ending's not a punishment, it is an opportunity. An opportunity for you to take that moment in time when you're lying on the floor at 2 a.m. when you can't figure out what is next, and to really reimagine what your life could look like. I couldn't see it at the time, but this heartbreak was creating space for bigger and better things that I never thought was possible. I bought my own home. I started a new chapter. I got dogs and cats. And I started Z Family Law, my law firm that is one of the biggest and greatest things that I have ever done. And through that law firm, I've been able to help other families navigate their new beginnings and help other people see that divorce doesn't have to be an ending. It can just be the closing of one chapter, and there's a whole lot of book left to write. Entrepreneurship itself also taught me lessons. I have really embraced the belief that we fail our way forward, that when we move faster from one mistake to the next, from one problem to the next, from one failure to the next, we learn quickly and get better faster. And hearing how other people do that is incredibly inspiring to me. And the both weave together, the learning from my relationship ending in my personal life and the learning and growth and development I have as an entrepreneur, both of these weaved together have brought me eventually to now, to living a life I really want to live. And I can't wait to see so much more. So I want to take you back to after that breakup because I want to talk about the rebuilding. If you're listening to this, you might be in that moment right now. You might be going through a divorce or a breakup or even a business breakup, something ending. And I want to inspire you, hopefully, in some of the magical ways that people inspired me. When I finally was ready to get off the floor, I started doing little things for me. I took a stand-up comedy class. I took money that I'd saved and I bought a condo in a county that I always wanted to live in. I got my first dog. Okay, and then another and a couple cats. So now I have the Zlatkus zoo. But I finally had pets at home. I bought plates that made me really happy. I know that sounds really silly, but I always wanted these beautiful blue plates. And, it wasn't something that me and my former partner agreed on, but I wanted them and I got them. And every morning when I sip my coffee out of my blue mug, I smile. I also lost a lot of weight. I got healthier, and not just physically, I got emotionally healthier. I stopped waiting for the next part of my life to begin, and I started really designing it. Really looking forward to what it was that I wanted and working my way backwards to figure out those steps. And once I figured out that that was the secret sauce, that was the magic behind a new beginning, figuring out what you want your life to look like, say 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, and really becoming obsessed, and I do mean obsessed with that vision. You have to know every last detail. You need to know where you want to live, what kind of job you want to have, how you want to spend your leisure time, what kind of vacations you want to take, what kind of food do you want to eat, who do you want to spend your time with, and how do you want to spend your time, and get really granular about what that looks like. Become obsessed with it. Only then can you work your way backwards to design that life for yourself. Now, if you told me back then that when I was sitting on the floor and trying to sleep and scrolling, looking for inspiration, that I would get through this, that I would survive, that years later I would own a law firm that helps so many other people get through this moment and help so many other people find their new beginnings, that I'd be living in not only my first home, but now my second home, that I'd be in a relationship that fulfills me in a whole different way, that I'd actually be an entrepreneur, not working for someone else, but working for myself, that I'd have pets, that I would have lost weight and not been embarrassed of pictures or videos of myself, that I'd be putting myself out there on a podcast or writing a book that hopefully is coming out sometime early next year. I would have thought you were crazy. But that's the thing about new beginnings. They rarely announce themselves. They come disguised as endings, heartbreaks. How will I get through this moments? And often they're not the new beginnings you choose that are the most impactful. For me, it was a breakup that was the catalyst. It stripped everything down to the core. And in that space, I realized something profound. No one was coming to rescue me, but I could rebuild myself. I could have my comeback. Now, I didn't decide right away to start a business. That came a few years later. I had to do several other things first to find myself. But once I had this idea of how I wanted to help people to create their new beginnings, to start to look at divorce as an opportunity instead of something awful that was happening to them, and to help them come up with better strategies. And I really do mean that, because your best divorce strategy is figuring out what you want your life to look like 3 or 5 years down the road after your divorce, and then working your way backwards. That's when I realized I wanted to start my own law firm that really emphasized that and put that forward. It also was personal for me because I still wanted to have a family. And for me, and I know this isn't for everybody, but for me, I wanted the flexibility that comes with owning a business, that I could be there for my family meaningfully in a way that made sense for me, and be there for my clients, and to build something that is greater than anything I as an individual could do. Z Family Law helps more families each year than I as an individual could help. And we're only growing, and that's why it's so important to keep doing that for me. But oh my gosh, entrepreneurship, in addition to being the greatest thing I've ever done, has also been the scariest, hardest, most painful and most growth-oriented thing I've ever done. I don't even have words. Kind of like rebuilding your life after a heartbreak. It requires a lot of skills, resilience, resourcefulness, and a relentless belief in yourself. Because sometimes you can't see the road ahead even as you're climbing. And you just got to keep going and putting one foot in front of the other. Both are about taking something that exists only in your imagination, that vision of years down the road, whether it's your vision for your life or in this case, the vision for your business, and working backwards to figure it out, one imperfect step at a time. In entrepreneurship, it's where I learned that it's okay to fail constantly. I, at one point, had a book that I called my fail log, where I was failing my way forward. Every rejection, every mistake I made, we wrote it down. It's a fun little reminder. I keep thinking I need to do a digital version of it, but goodness, it'd be embarrassing if it got out there. But what's not embarrassing is that I can make mistakes. I will make mistakes, and I will make them again and again. Entrepreneurship will teach you humility. It will teach you courage. It will remind you that success in love, in life, in business, it's not about perfection, but it's about persistence. Entrepreneurship taught me to take messy action, and heartbreak taught me that surviving is also success. And together, those lessons become the foundation for everything I've built: my firm, my team, my projects, my book, now this show, because I want to inspire listeners to do the same, to take the mess and make it their message, and to take what is their moment of despair and turn it into a jumping off point into a bigger life than they had ever hoped. If you're listening to this right now and you're in the middle of something, a breakup, financial loss, a dream that didn't work out, I want to share a few lessons that changed everything for me. Lesson 1, you can build from the rubble. You don't need to wait until you're ready. Ready is, in my opinion, a figment of everybody's imagination. If you were ready to leave your marriage, you leave. And I can't tell you how many people come into my office and say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Well, same thing with, I'm going to start a business. I'm not ready. I'm going to go out solo as an attorney. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to take that big marketing risk. I'm not ready to put myself out there for social media, personal branding. I'm not ready. Ready is just how you feel once you start doing it. Sometimes you got to do things based on what has to happen, the facts of what has to happen, and not necessarily on how you're feeling at any given moment. Don't wait until you're ready. You can start now, even if all you have is heartbreak or stubborn hope. Lesson 2, failure is feedback, and feedback and failure are not dirty words. At Z Family Law, we work really hard to have a feedback culture. I ask every new team member to give me feedback, and we give feedback ourselves. We use a platform called 15.5, but feedback is how we learn and grow. I recently told a legal assistant who had given some feedback, and she was, feeling a little hurt by it. But I asked her, I said, hey, I sat down for about 15 minutes and thought about this feedback to give to you because I care about you, because I care about your career trajectory, because I know that you want to grow here. And so I spent 15 minutes of my time investing in you and investing in your career by giving you this feedback. Feedback is a gift. It's not one you have to use. It's not one that you're obligated to, put on all the trappings of it, but it is something that is a gift. And same thing with failure. When you fail at something, whether it's in business or in your love life or moving forward, there is a lesson there. And that lesson and that feedback that the world is giving you is an amazing gift. And again, you don't need to listen to every piece of feedback. You don't need to incorporate every single piece of feedback, but you do have to honor it. And let me tell you, when you are failing your way forward, and that's the only way that I know how to grow, is I'm going to fail my way forward from one mistake to the next, over and over and over and over again, because I will learn and grow better, and my team will learn and do better and do better. That's what I'm looking for. Because instead, if I stand still and I'm not moving forward, I'm not making changes. Every time something doesn't work out, that's life's way of saying, not this way, try a different direction. It's not a rejection, it's a redirection. All right, lesson number 3, community matters. When I went through my breakup, my friends and family could not be more supportive. I made 2 phone calls that night, and both of those people, my mom and one of my best friends, were at my door in minutes. They were with me every step of the way, from getting my stuff to moving to the new place to making sure that I got off that floor every now and then. Other friends made sure that I ate food and made sure that I got from one moment to the next. And then they were also my biggest cheerleaders. When I did that stand-up comedy class, they were right in the audience cheering me on when we did our little show at the end. And when I went out and started Z Family Law, now there were a lot of people that told me, maybe not now, maybe you should wait, maybe you're too big for your britches, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? My core tribe, they were my biggest supporters, sharing my website, sharing that I was starting this out. And those are your people. And you also need more people than that. And here's what I mean by that. If you're going through a divorce or a heartbreak, find a group or find some people to follow on social media that can help you work through those emotions. And I'm not talking about replacing your therapist or your divorce coach or your lawyer. Do not take legal advice from the internet. Just don't do it. But find other people that can inspire you and show you that you can get to the other side. And that's why a lot of our guests are going to be talking about their own divorce and how they took that moment of pain and turned it into magic and turned it into a better life than they ever dreamed. Listen to those stories, whether it's here or elsewhere, and find your people. In business, I can't say enough good thing about business coaching. I have been engaging in some kind of business coaching from 6 months into being an entrepreneur on, and I can't imagine ever not engaging in some kind of coaching. And I do business coaching myself, because you have to learn from the people who are already doing the thing you want to do. It sure as heck makes it a lot faster. You can reinvent the wheel, or you can borrow somebody else's wheel and make it work for you. Don't rebuild in isolation. Don't build in isolation. Whether it's friends, mentors, coaches, a support group, healing happens faster when we let people in. Lesson number 4, mindset is everything. And let me tell you, I've had people really push back on me on this. Christy, it's not all about mindset. You have to actually do this or culture, or this, or, metrics, blah, blah. And yes, it's a lot of different things. But let me tell you, the rest of that doesn't matter if your mindset's not right. There are podcasts out there that I listen to over and over and over again because they help me get my mindset right. And there will be some mindset parts to this podcast. Because if your mindset is, oh my gosh, my life is over, I will never meet someone again after my divorce, my kids will be, absolutely horribly affected by it, nothing will ever be good again, I won't be able to make any money, I won't be able to find any kind of to help me with all these different things. Well, that's the story you're telling yourself, and you're going to get stuck in that loop, and you're not going to see the opportunities that are all around you for the magic that could be your life. And the same thing with business. If all you see is the business failure in front of you and not the lessons you could learn from it or the opportunities available to you, you are missing out. So work on your mindset, protect your mindset, invest in your mindset. The story you tell yourself determines what happens next. And if you start to believe that this moment, this hard moment, whatever one you're going through, is just one chapter and not the whole story, you're going to have the greatest comeback ever. And you'll start to see all the different possibilities open up. Finally, lesson number 5, endings are invitations. Sometimes life has to fall apart to make room for what's next. And when you're in the middle of it, you may not be able to see that, but I promise there is a future version of you that will look back and whisper, thank you. Okay, so I just want to end on, this is why I created this show, because I remember those sleepless nights. I remember feeling like everything I built was just gone and disappeared, and that I had no idea what would be next, if I'd ever be a mom, if I'd ever fall in love again, if what I was doing for my career even mattered. And I know what it's like to search for hope, not the polished, everything is fine now and everything's going to be okay, and whatever else you can put on a mug. I'm talking about the really greedy kind, the kind that helps you breathe through the pain. When you feel the tightness in your chest and you don't know what's next because the anxiety is gripping you so tightly. The kind that helps you breathe through the pain long enough to find your footing again. The inspiration that if this person could get through their divorce, I can too. And if this person can file bankruptcy and somehow have an amazing business now, then I can get through that too. And if this person's business was stagnant for 10 years and then they figured something out and it exploded, I can do that too. Because the inspiration is what helps propel us forward. And the figuring out how to do it together as a community, that also helps us propel us forward. So this space, this is not the end, is for anyone who is sitting in that space between endings and beginnings. And I cannot wait to share this space with you. We're going to talk about real strategies that helped real people rebuild and mindsets that helped keep them going. We're going to figure out what their theme songs were that helped with their comeback and what mantras really, really worked for them and what was their inspiration. I'm going to share some of my own lessons too, the tools and the truths that got me here. Because if you're in that 2 a.m. moment, the one where everything feels lost, I want you to know that you are not alone. This isn't where your story ends. It's just the place where it starts to change. If this episode resonated with you, take a moment, just one, to breathe and remind yourself you survived every hard day before this one, and you can survive this one too. And it's not just about survival. You can rebuild, reimagine, and rise. Because this is not the end. This is the beginning of something extraordinary. If you found something helpful here, I'd love for you to subscribe, share this with a friend, or leave a review so others can find hope too. I'm Christy Zlatkus, and this is not the end.